After school, when we were supposed to meet, I could see a light shower of rain in the part of the courtyard visible from the hallway. Senpai would probably head there anyway, though. I thought as I stuck close to the window. There was no sign of anyone around the fountain, of course. As I gazed through the window, I could see the pool used for swimming class. The serene surface of water steered along with my memories, rippling gently. Oh, there you are, Sayaka-chan. Senpai's face peeked into the hallway from the stairs. Wondering what she was doing, I headed over to Senpai. He retracted her head from the stairwell in a quick movement. For some reason, the way she moved was very funny. When I arrived at the end of the hallway, Senpai was right in front of the stairs. I was trying to figure out what to do because it was raining, but this worked out great. Yeah, it did. But why were you... I implied the rest of my question with a gesture. Why were you hiding behind a wall, looking at me? Senpai detached herself from the wall and explained. Well, I thought it would be weird if an upper-class man were wandering around the second year's hallway. That was a normal enough reason. I'd assumed Senpai didn't worry about things like that, though, so it was unexpected. If it rains like this again, we might have to stop meeting until it clears up. I understand. In that case, I hope it doesn't rain often. The thought surprised me a bit. So that's how I feel, is it? I remembered my classmates saying I looked excited. It used to rain whenever I was supposed to have field days. I hope my luck has changed since then. It was a bit strange for Senpai to start worrying about it in that way. Was every day a big occasion to her? I felt a strange combination of excitement and relief to know that the time she spent with me was special. Senpai, this is a weird question to ask, but do you ever think about me when we are apart? What did I think I was doing? Asking that in the hallway. It felt terribly reckless. But in that moment, I really wanted to know. Though she was bewildered at first, she replied almost immediately. Her response, too, was something she shouldn't have said in a place where people might walk by. I'm always thinking of you. Are you? Really? That was probably the answer I was hoping for. But it met my expectations almost too perfectly, inspiring a note of doubt. Yeah, I think about how I want to do stuff like this and that with you. She pointed to the right and left, seemingly at random. Though I looked where she was pointing, I saw nothing but walls. Like what, for instance? Oh my gosh, don't ask me that, it's embarrassing. Senpai jokingly hit my shoulder. She was right that it wasn't something we should talk openly about, though. But still. Then are you going to just keep wanting to do them and leave it at that, Senpai? If she wasn't going to be upfront about it, then what was the point? Nothing would happen if we didn't put it into motion ourselves. That was why I accepted Senpai's confession, and presumably why Senpai confessed in the first place. Hmm. She went into thought for a bit. In that case, I'll try doing it today. Hmm? Okay. What a strange declaration. Senpai nodded to herself and walked away rather quickly. I wonder what that was about. Then, that night, Sayaka, the phone! My grandmother called out to me, holding the cordless phone. I started to stand up, but then remembered that the cat was sitting on my lap. Who is it? Those cell phones had proliferated in this day and age. My house still had a landline, since quite a few of my grandparents' acquaintances didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have my own phone either, nor had I ever felt the need to call someone individually until now. It's an upperclassman from your school, Yusuki-san. The moment I heard her name, it was like fireworks were going off in front of my eyes. I hadn't been able to think of anyone who would have wanted to call me, but now it was cuttingly clear. Thank you! The cat wouldn't move. When I urged it by petting its back, the tortoiseshell cat finally got up and headed over to my grandmother. I took the phone in exchange for the cat. Don't talk too long now, Sayaka-chan. Okay. My grandmother never called me that, so I raised my eyebrows. Why would she say that all of a sudden? I looked between the phone and my grandmother. They seemed connected, but also somewhat distant. After checking to make sure my grandmother had left with the cat, I went back to my seat. All right then. I cleared my throat. Hello? Oh, Sayaka-chan! Senpai's voice seemed to form a V as it sank down and then leaped up again. It really was Yuzuki Senpai. I didn't remember ever sharing my home number with her. Maybe she looked it up through the choir club's contact network. At any rate, right at this very moment, I was talking on the phone with Senpai. This is quite a surprise. Is it though? I told you I was thinking about it, didn't I? Huh? I frowned doubtfully, but then I thought back to what had happened the day after school. Was this one of the things she had been thinking about? Was it this or that? I wondered. I'm doing something I've always wanted to. You mean talking on the phone? That's right. Senpai's voice lowered. A call to my sweetheart. Without thinking, I pressed back against the wall, as though I were trying to keep the sound from escaping. Wasn't there anyone around at Senpai's house? No, if there wasn't, she wouldn't have lowered her voice. It seemed kind of bold, or maybe just reckless. I looked around, checking that there wasn't anyone around in the room or the hallway. Neither my grandmother nor the cat was sneakingly hiding in the shadows. I've been yearning to do this. Her voice was round and sugary, like a piece of hard candy. Well, I'm glad you got to do it then. I wonder if either of us could have imagined that I would be the one to play the role of that sweetheart. I, of course, hadn't entertained the thought at all. Senpai had always just been Senpai. Until the day she had confessed her love to me, that is. Oh, and sorry, but I asked if Sayaka-chan was around at first. I see. That explained it. I turned around and narrowed my eyes at the hallway, as though glaring at my grandmother, who of course wasn't there. Sayaka-san seemed weird. And if I said Seki-san, well, everyone is Seki-san in your house, so I didn't know what to do. So I just blurted it out. I'm sorry. Oh, it's fine. Even my family had never called me Sayaka-chan. I think that the adults at kindergarten might have called me that, but it was a long time ago. The memory is distant, as if buried in sand. Right now, at least, I was only Sayaka-chan to Senpai. It was a little embarrassing to think about it. Hmm, but now that I've called you, there isn't much to talk about. I could tell that Senpai was smiling awkwardly, as though she were in a bind. I was, too. We do see and talk to each other every day already, after all. That's right. But when I was calling you, I could feel my heart pounding. At that point, Senpai's voice wavered for a moment, and then immediately surged back up. So I guess it's fine, since my heart pounded already. Her childlike reasoning almost made me burst out laughing. At the same time, I felt as though I were steadily heating up. It was a mild warmth, not unpleasant in the least. That warmth brought about honest words in me. As long as you're satisfied, I think that's more than enough. You're really such a good girl, Saka-chan. That's not true. But actually, I'm not satisfied. There was one other thing I wanted to do too. Oh, is this something like this? No, it's something like that. I don't understand the difference. But to do that, I would need you to work with me, Sayaka-chan. You need me to? I wondered what she was going to make me do. Senpai's head was always full of cotton candy dreams, so I was sure it would be something embarrassing. If I was going to do something like that, I really would need to prepare myself, not run away from my feelings, and just do my best. Please be gentle. I don't think it's that intense. Or maybe it is. When she muttered something that seemed like a warning, I shrunk away. Stuff like this and that. I felt like even I was starting to imagine it. Well then, it will seem weird if we talk too long, so. Oh, yes. Um, Thank you very much. As I told her goodbye, pretending to be an ordinary underclassman, I waited for her to hang up. Well then, yes. I'll hang up first. Please do. I heard her breathe in. Then after 3 seconds went by, the phone hung up. Phew! I almost laughed out loud. The way Senpai acted made me smile, and my heart seemed to swell up at her voice. So I felt real affection towards her.